Hey guys, Thomas the Silly Jr. here, aka Mustached Tom, here to review The Death of Superman, the reboot to, well, The Death of Superman. And I came across this seeing as some other people have talked about it, and I decided to check it out for myself. As for the original, I haven't seen it in quite a long time, and as far as the ideal of Superman, it's sort of, I'll watch it occasionally sort of thing. Sure, why not? So this is an animated movie, which the past DC animated movies have been quite phenomenal, while the live action movies have been not as lucky in most of their runs recently, anyway. So we start with the cops moving in, and these three guys in these armor suits are trying to dig into a bank, and this detective and this other lady get caught up in the mess. But Superman arrives to take all three of these guys down. Jimmy Olsen takes a pick, and Superman gets visited by this sailor dude who says that he's gonna own a restaurant and be like, hey, why don't you go eat here? Afterwards, Flash and Cyborg arrive. So in this version, I believe, if I'm correct, it's either 51 or like Superman 51 or 52 or whatever it's called, whatever version of Superman this is now. He's already met with the Justice League prior. I don't know what precedes this. I haven't been keeping up with the most recent version of Superman to any degree, so I guess he must have met the Justice League already. So there is that. There is some prerequisites to understanding some of the stuff going on here, but I think this movie does do fine enough, even on its own, still. But we do learn that Darkseid was already defeated, so I guess that's some previous movie. Anyways, Superman arrives to Lois Lane, and then he goes to this little science facility and touches some gem to show her the background of his true parents. Then afterwards, he gives Lois a lift back to the Daily Planet, and then flies off. And when Lois arrives back on the scene into the planet, she meets up with Clark Kent, who is the alter ego of Superman. But she doesn't know in this movie, at least at the beginning. So the glasses trick still works to this very day. It's kind of stupid, but whatever. Anyways, she ends up meeting Kent's parents, and they talk about his past and stuff like that, and he's all embarrassed. Afterwards, we cut to Superman meeting with Cyborg's father to try to figure out where this tech the guys got from. And after learning where it was from, he goes to visit Lex Luthor, who is under house arrest in this movie. So I guess there's already some pretext to that as well, how I ended up there. Anyways, Lois gets visited by one of her coworkers, and this coworker of hers tricks her into confessing that Lois was going to meet with Clark's parents, and it's a little embarrassing for her or whatever. But then we cut to space, and this rock formation suddenly poofs into existence and starts to work its way down. Meanwhile, Lex Luthor already shows that he is able to easily get out of house arrest, and it's a really short scene, so we cut back to the satellite that gets wrecked. And the person in charge of the satellite was like, oh, Superman will save us, but no one arrives in time to save them, and not even any of the other superheroes. Because, yeah, that sucks, but whatever. We cut to then Wonder Woman and Superman, who are training in this, like, virtual thing where she fights this cheetah lady. I don't know what her official supervillain name is. I kind of forget. They don't mention it, but that's why I just wrote cheetah lady on the note my notes. But yes, she was training with Superman, and they talk for a bit. But we cut to LexCorp, which has an underwater submarine going in to find what the meteor did after sinking that satellite down. But the creature grabs a bunch of Atlanteans, and then it grabs the sub itself and destroys it. So the Justice League meet up. They talk about how their products are doing for some reason. It's kind of irrelevant. And then Flash says he's gonna get married, and that gets Superman curious about how he should handle his information with Lois. And Flash actually has some pretty interesting insight, saying that marriage is all about sacrifice. As comic relief as he tries to come across, which most of his jokes don't even land. But thankfully, thanks to Batman's more deadpan silence, it gets a little bit of a boost from that, at least. But anyways, Clark Kent keeps his distance from Lois. And Aquaman, meanwhile, checks on the death scene but sees nothing within the vicinity. So anyways, we cut to this really, I believe Superman might have been talking to someone else, but they mentioned, I believe he was talking to his parents at this point, like he returned back to them, to his mother specifically, and she was trying to say how he deserves Lois, and then he says, the more special someone is, the more you'll want to protect them. So, you know, that is sort of the epitome of the current Superman, is what he's willing to hide in order to protect. You know, the very vintage sort of superhero mentality. Anyways, we cut to two campers who are dealing with a bear, and they're hiding out because that's freaking them out, but then the creature from space comes in and does some damage and takes them all out. Meanwhile, Superman bumps into Lois, who gets a call about the creature who's causing havoc. Meanwhile, in the city, while the creature is walking into it, Hawkeye arrives on the scene, and so does Batman and Flash. And even Green Lantern too, and they all get absolutely wrecked. Even Green Lantern's ring is the light that emits from it, his powers are broken through from the discovery at this point that it is in fact Doomsday, because of course it is Doomsday, because he is the one who has famously killed Superman in prior iterations of this story. So Flash takes his crack at it, but he's running all about and running in and out, and Doomsday eventually catches up to Flash and hits him down. Batman tries his best, and so does the Martian, I believe his name is Martian Manhunter. I'm sorry if that's not his name. I think it is, but whatever. Anyway. So Lois and Clark go to this little, the fish guy's little food place, and he's talking to her, and it is at this point he reveals that he is in fact Superman, and he takes off the glasses, and just taking off the glasses alone and saying just take it seriously allows Lois to put all of it together. Again, kind of a stupid scene, but you know, he also leaves a secret note where she finds out that he in fact loves her. Aww. Anyways, we cut back to Aquaman, Cyborg, and the Martian Manhunter, who are now struggling against Doomsday. And Wonder Woman cuts in, and they have an epic fight, but even Wonder Woman herself struggles as she tries to use her lasso, and it doesn't work. She attempts to use her sword, which Doomsday absolutely shatters with its own fist. Luckily, before Doomsday can do even more damage to her, Superman arrives on the scene, and from there it's just an epic battle between Superman and Doomsday. But one laser from Doomsday itself causes Superman to bleed. All of this going on is, it makes Lex Luthor complex as he's watching on. Meanwhile, we cut back to the fight, which goes on to a bridge where Superman saves a kid and then goes back to the fight. And then at some point in the battle, he gets thrown into Lois's helicopter, and thus he must save her, as well as the remaining people on the helicopter. So Superman goes even further, punching Doomsday into the sky and back down, but this time Doomsday reverses it, pummeling Superman, bashing him back down to the ground. And at that point, Lex Luthor arrives, attempting to actually be the superhero, because that is essentially what Lex Luthor wants. He wants that fame and fortune that Superman has gained. He wants there to be no aliens. That is his entire thing. He wants to be the hero. So he actually ends up going after Doomsday. But that quickly falls apart as he quickly underestimates Doomsday's power to break through his device, and Lex is blasted out of his device thing, his armor, and is thrown away, but Superman manages to save Lex, which actually does piss him off. Because he doesn't want to be seen as the guy who was saved by Superman. He despises Superman, and anyone who knows Superman knows this. But Doomsday beats him down some more, by the way, at some point. I didn't write it in my notes, but he did grow at some point. I believe it was when he was fighting the other superheroes. At some point he did grow. His shoulder pads grew just a smidge there. Anyways, as that's going on, Doomsday beats him down some more. Superman's at his last legs, but Lois causes a distraction and grows even more. The spikes on this part of the arm grow out to be these spikes, and it attempts to go after Lois Lane, which causes Superman to go absolutely, just no, I will not let you kill Lois Lane. So Superman blasts forward after being on the ground, and seeing this, he just pushes up, going straight in, fist forward, probably even ever so blindly as to not see that Doomsday had his arms outward. So yes, Superman is stabbed right through the chest via big spike that he ever so blindly rushed into. This causes everyone to believe that's, the title, The Death of Superman, arrives. As Superman closes his eyes and the Justice League arrive just on the scene just to see this. And the news spreads all over the world, and everyone's despair is displayed around the world. And even Lex gives his half-hearted goodbye, but he makes it as genuine as he possibly can because he's in the face of media, so of course he will cover whatever he needs to say in order to get some good press. So, Lois goes back to the parents. They do their little thing. Then we cut back to Jimmy, who says he has news worth going out for. So Lois goes out with him, and then they see that the casket that Superman was in is broken out of. And they see a dark silhouette of Superman and then see him fly off. And that is the end of the movie. It felt surprisingly short. And the battle takes up a good chunk of that between the two fights, the two primary fights that happen. They take up the bulk of the movie. We don't get really much out of the Justice League here. They're sort of just the background heroes in this case, with the exception of Wonder Woman, who does put up the most fight out of everyone else in the Justice League up until her sword breaks. With that being said, again, all the other superheroes kind of just get put to the backside. They all do have their little one, like, they all have some lines here and there. But overall, it is primarily the story of the death of Superman. So it does feel I can't say self-contained, because that's simply not true. It does feel like a part of this needs to, you need to sort of understand, like, the stuff that happens before. But, I think as a self-contained movie, I think when it gets to the battle, that's where the movie picks up. DC, at least within the animated universe, has in the past shown that its highlights have been their animated battles. They do know how to choreograph a fight in order to make it really interesting, regardless of who it is, even if it is someone as OP as Superman. But, this is the death of Superman, so of course it has to be Doomsday, who does this in. But, Superman does kill Doomsday at the end of the movie with getting the whole stab part. So I do think it is a solid movie. I would just warrant that there does seem to be a lot of parts that, again, seem to require some sort of prerequisite. As the movie stands alone, I would give it a 6 out of 10. If I had the other information going in, I probably would have given it a 7 out of 10 or even an 8 out of 10. I probably would have appreciated it way more if I had the understanding of the rest of this version of Superman anyways. It does seem like that would be the case. But, again, this movie does have a hard time of seeming to stand independent of itself. But it does seem more... Again, I hate you... I don't hate, but I'm trying to avoid using the word contained, because it does seem like there's a prerequisite. But as far as the whole death of Superman goes, they did, again, contain it to at least just that story. Unlike Batman vs. Superman, I know that movie is very divisive to say, because it's both that story and the death of Superman put together, and that did throw so many people off of what that movie was doing. So at least in that sense, this movie is self-contained. At least it is just the death of Superman, with the Justice League already established as being a part of his team. That's the only difference that I noticed, because I do believe in the original version it was just Superman by himself. Maybe Batman might have been with him at that point, I don't remember again. But regardless, again, the Justice League sort of just have their own little thing going on. And, Lex is a little bit of fun, at the very least, so there's that. So, again, I think I would give it a 6 out of 10. But I do think, again, I would have enjoyed it a little bit more with the pretext But that is my review of The Death of Superman. And if you enjoyed my review, then please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, make sure to check out that link in the description. I'll head you over to my Patreon page, and any donations are greatly appreciated. And until next time, everyone, bye-bye.